A 14-year-old boy is facing charges including attempted murder after police in Massachusetts state he tried to drown a young black teen in a racially motivated attack. The attack took place July 19th at a typical peaceful and scenic Goose Pond in Chatham, when the defendant allegedly called another boy racial slurs, threw stones at him, and tried to drown him. Chatham is a seaside town at the southeast tip of Cape Cod. Cape and Island District Attorney Robert Gilboys stated that the Barnstable County Grand Jury indicted the defendant, a town local, on a felony charge on August 31st. The teen, charged as a youth offender, was also indicted on one count of assault with a dangerous weapon. Under Massachusetts state law, prosecutors can seek an adult sentence if an indicted youthful offender is convicted of a crime. The district attorney called the incident a racially motivated attack. According to the documents obtained by the Times, on the day it took place, two white juveniles called the victim George Floyd, referring to the black man who died in Minneapolis police custody back in 2020. The name of the defendant was released in court records, but he is not being named at this time due to the fact of him being a minor. At the time of the attack, Kevin Reddington, the defendant's attorney, stated that his client was living with his mother in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, after his parents, who lived in Cape Cod, had recently gone through a divorce. The boy was ordered to be held without bail after a hearing in Barnstable Juvenile Court the same day he was indicted. Quote, he was starting his freshman year in high school on the football team. He's been ripped out of high school and now is being held in the detention facility in Taunton. These kids were all friends. They knew each other. It was horseplay. That obviously was taken to the next level. According to a police report, the victim went to the police alone on July 21st and reported two of his friends tried to drown him. The victim told police he met the defendant and another boy at the pond about 3:30 p.m., and while there, the defendant told the other boy to take the victim's bike and ride it into the pond. The victim told the pair that the bike belonged to his brother and stated not to ride it, at which time both suspects and the other juvenile began to throw stones directly at him. At one point, the victim put on his life jacket because he could not swim and got into the water, and the defendant continued to throw rocks at him, threatened to beat him up, and called him racial slurs. While in the water, the victim told the defendant that he was afraid of drowning and that he could not swim. While all three were in the water, the defendant pulled on the life jacket of the victim, wore, and submerged him for 4 to 5 times, causing breathing distress. The third boy laughed and called the victim George Floyd, and the incident continued when the defendant drove underwater and attempted to pull the victim underwater by his feet. At one point, according to the police report, the defendant allegedly asked the victim if he liked his life. Quote, I can't once I'm drowning. That was his response. Then he began yelling for help as the defendant continues to shout derogatory names directly at him. The incident ended when the victim called for help and a bystander, one of 6 people on the beach, went into the water and helped him to the shore. The victim told police that he packed up his belongings and left. Massachusetts law allows for the indictment proceedings of a youth offender to be open to the public in the same manner as an adult criminal offender's record. Reddington stated that his client is being held in a juvenile detention for 120 days. He stated that he plans to appeal the case at the Barnstable Superior Court. Quote, this is a significant overreach by the DA, also adding that the charges are doing irreparable harm to his client. Cape Cod civil rights activists praised the police response and called on the community to teach children tolerance and the history of violence against Black people in hopes of creating a safer environment. Quote, the thing I think about is the community of color on Cape Cod and how something like this impacts all of them. Splatter later stated that I worry about how they go about every day and feel secure and protected. Gene Morris, a civil rights activist, stated that he also applauds the police response. Quote, it's very important for the community to realize what's at stake here. Our kids are learning about violence and especially racial violence. The Chatham Selective Board also condemns the alleged attack and promises action. Quote, "We are disturbed and saddened to learn of the event that occurred earlier this summer between juveniles. The town and our police department have a strong relationship with the Monami Regional School District, and we will be working together proactively to deter events such as this from taking place in the future." This is why I've stated the things that I've stated. And this is another reason why it's pretty funny when I think back to a conversation that I was having a back and forth with on IG underneath a different video. And I had a man tell me that when you happen to basically talk about, racism or anything like that, you basically teach it, right? And I have no problems with people being peace loving, individuals and wanting to stay in a positive realm and stuff of that nature. That's completely fine. If that's what works for you, that's what works for you. If that's how you view the world, that's how you view the world. But it comes to a point where people have to realize and understand the fact that, irregardless of whatever it is that you feel or believe, that you have other things directly out here that are outside of your control. You have households that exist where behaviors are allowed, such as people using different types of slurs and derogatory terms or caricatures or people doing blackface or what have you. You have those things that directly exist. So if I, as a black man in America, want to happen to um, place these stories directly out here so that they are a lesson, so that people are fully aware and warned about the things that are taking place that might not be directly within their line of view or directly within their state, city, or town, at least they know. That's not me trying to directly teach people any type of hatred, discrimination, or bigotry. That's making people aware that these things are taking place, that these things are happening. Because oddly enough, you have a lot of people that tend to believe that none of this stuff exists. They're like they've never seen any of this. They don't even understand how it exists, how it's still happening in 2023. You have a lot of people that are actually pretty shocked and they're godsmacked, when it deals with stories like this. They don't even know how to digest it because they just can't believe it, because they're looking at all of their circle of friends, they're looking at their coworkers, they're looking at their family, and they're like, I've never seen it. I've never gone through it. So how could this actually exist? Just because you've never seen it, witnessed it, heard of it, or gone through it. So just because you've never witnessed it or experienced it or even seen it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You're just a part of the lucky few, the minority of a minority, who has never had to face such type of treatment. And a lot of people would happen to say that, hey, you're blessed. Your outlook on life is going to be drastically different. But don't try to overwrite or play down what it is that other people's experiences are, because they're actually going through something that you've never witnessed. And again, this is another reason why a lot of parents out here need to specifically go out and teach their kids the history of America, so that their kids will have a better understanding of a lot of the things that they just might so happen to run into or face.